We have a trade. No, maybe not the biggest trade. It's not exactly fireworks here, but still an important deal featuring the Clippers and the Utah Jazz. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Let's take a look at this trade, what's happening and why this is going on, as well as what this means for the overall NBA trade market. By the way, if you haven't done so yet, please make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. We sure appreciate all the support we've gotten on our new endeavor here. Shams Charania reporting the Clippers are trading PJ Tucker, Mo Bamba, a future second-round pick, and cash. Gotta love that. To the Utah Jazz for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills. So, yes, power shift, right? You've got a big-time swing here. The power base in the Western Conference is changing with these star-level players on the move. No, not at all. Not at all, but that's okay. This is still an important trade here that we're seeing. So Drew Eubanks, Patty Mills going to the Clippers. You got about $7 million, an expiring contract. Now, when we look at Eubanks, here's the nice thing. Eubanks technically not an expiring contract, but he also kind of is. See, here's the deal. Drew Eubanks right now sitting on the books of $5 million, guaranteed $0 next season, which means the team, should the Clippers decide, can move on from him this summer and just waive him as though he is an expiring contract. So $5 million on the books this year for Drew Eubanks, but not money onto the books for next year for the Clippers. So why are the Clippers giving up a second-round pick when they're giving up PJ Tucker, who's also an expiring contract, and Mo Bamba, who's also an expiring contract, and just getting back effectively expiring contracts? Well, I do like Drew Eubanks a little bit more than Mo Bamba. Is it a huge difference? No, it's not like this suddenly makes the Clippers that much more likely to contend this season or something like that. But Eubanks has been a fairly serviceable center for years now in the NBA, just a quality backup guy that can occasionally block some shots, but he's actually a better shot blocker than I think a lot of people realize. He can be decent there protecting the rim, give you a little bit on the boards, and so there's something there. By the way, happy birthday, Drew Eubanks. Happy birthday, and you just got traded. 28th birthday, and he is being traded to the Clippers. So congratulations. In fact, the Jazz just put out a happy birthday announcement for Drew Eubanks, and then they sent him on his way. But that's not really what this is about. It's about the players that they're getting here. We knew the Clippers were going to move on from PJ Tucker. They made it pretty clear he's been away from the team all season long. They were eventually going to find a trade for his expiring contract. Now, what the Clippers, I think, ideally wanted to do was turn that expiring contract into some type of valuable player for their team, somebody that's going to give them a boost. They weren't able to do that, but instead what they're doing is dropping below the luxury tax. That's what this does for the Clippers. You look at the way this can be structured with the minimum salary from Patty Mills going into a minimum exception here for the Clippers. The Clippers are saving about $8.6 million. Well, they were over the luxury tax heading into this, so now they drop below the tax, as Bobby Marks notes from ESPN, gives them $4 million below the tax and enough flexibility below the first apron. They have plenty of flexibility below the first apron. They're hard capped at that because they signed Derrick Jones Jr. to a mid-level exception deal. If you use the mid-level exception, the full mid-level anyway, non-taxpayer mid-level is what we call it, that would then trigger a hard cap at that first-tier apron. So that's what the Clippers have done here. They are first-tier hard capped, but this goes a little bit further than just that. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. But first, a quick shout-out to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. They always do a fantastic job. Let's go check them out. Prize Picks, if you guys want to use the promo code Bulletin, great way to help out the channel and support us. Use the link in the description down below to go check out Prize Picks. Very easy, very fun to play as well. Gets you really locked in to every single game. So all you have to do is make some predictions of what do you think is going to happen. Dyson Daniels, the great barrier thief. I'm not betting against him. 10.5 rebounds and assists. I think he will get there against the Pacers, who've been playing some good basketball lately. Sabonis against OKC. I don't like picking against OKC's defense. That's usually not a lot of fun. How about Trey? No, it's the same matchup. Trae Young, got to go with a different matchup here. Let's go. You know what? I think LeBron, I call me biased, but I think LeBron's going to show up big time in MSG. 26.5 points. No Anthony Davis. Think he gets that done. And of course, I always make sure to go check in. And the Patrick Mahomes free square, 0.5 passing yards. Yes, I think he is going to do that. So if we're able to win on this, that would be a $50 win if I'm right on these picks. So guys, go check that out. Prize Picks, use our code Bulletin, and you get a guaranteed $50 on your first $5 played. All right, so why is this a bigger deal beyond just the players involved when we're talking about this trade, and what does this mean for the overall trade market? Well, effectively what the Jazz are doing is, with this salary difference that we're seeing here, with the amount of money that they are absorbing, the Jazz are really just, they're buying a second round pick. Now, in this hypothetical trade I put together here, I sent the 2030 second rounder from the Clippers to the Jazz. A lot of teams right now are focusing on the value of good second round picks. So the Clippers second round pick this year, we know it's not going to be that good. They could move that. But so I switched it out for the 2030 pick. As I'm recording this, I don't know which one is actually going to be on the move, which second round pick, but I'm guessing the 2030 pick would probably be one where the Utah Jazz could say, hey, who knows what the Clippers are going to be by 2030? Better chance that this could be a good second round pick. So for the Utah Jazz, you are buying a second round pick, and the cost of it, it looks like they're losing $6.5 million, but how much cash did the Clippers really throw in? That can certainly offset that. So effectively what the Jazz have done is they've bought a second round pick with their expiring salaries, and they've absorbed a little bit of money. But for the Clippers, they've dropped below the luxury tax. So this is actually a really big deal. To clear this much money, to drop below the luxury tax is well worth a second round pick. Now, a lot of us don't like spending time thinking about the bottom line of organizations, particularly when you have infinity money like Steve Ballmer. This does matter for the Clippers' flexibility too, but by dropping below the luxury tax, they're now going to actually be subsidized by the rest of the NBA. So they would have gone from having a tax bill and having to pay money based on their salary to now they're going to actually get paid by other teams. In fact, their competitors, teams that are well above the tax, teams like the Celtics, teams like the Wolves, and teams like that are high spenders. The Phoenix Suns, of course, right? These teams are going to be paying these high tax bills. That money, all the tax-paying teams' money, it's going to get pooled and it's going to get distributed to the non-tax-paying teams. So the Clippers now find themselves in those ranks, and they'll get pretty nice payouts. So this could be, I mean, just off the top of my head, maybe a $20 million swing for the Clippers. I mean, significant money that we could be talking here, to go from paying a tax bill to now not having to pay a tax and actually getting paid out by being a below the tax team. So that's why it makes a lot of sense for teams that are close to that luxury tax to do what they can to drop below. But this is a lot of money that the Clippers have saved. So that's pretty impressive work for the Clippers, given that the total cost was just a second round pick for them to do it. Between Drew Eubanks and Mo Bamba, again, I'm not very high on Mo Bamba. I think he's just fine, though. But I don't think the Clippers really lose much by getting Drew Eubanks instead of Mo Bamba. In fact, I think you could argue that they actually got a little bit better at the big position. I'm not worried about Patty Mills. I mean, he's a veteran. He's not going to, rock the boat too much in the locker room or anything like that. So that's just fine. And there's also the possibility that as an expiring $5 million, they could flip Drew Eubanks by himself. And this also sets up the Clippers to be below that first tier apron, well below it. So they could potentially do something else, as Bobby Marks notes, maybe even on the buyout market. They could wind up being a major landing spot for players and still stay below the luxury tax. So you could pay, let's say Ben Simmons gets bought out. Again, because they're below the first tier apron, they can sign a player, even if they're making more than the MLE, who gets bought out. So Ben Simmons, he gets bought out, they could be a landing spot. Lonzo Ball, if he gets bought out, they could be a landing spot. You think about some of the guys that are out there potentially that may not get moved by the deadline. The Clippers can now be the team to say, hey, come on in. We can take you, give you a minimum salary. You're still going to get paid however much you got bought out on your previous contract. And they can still stay below that luxury tax. So again, I think this is a really nice bit of work here by the Clippers to get this done. Can set up some future moves in terms of them being a player on the buyout market. And we'll see, does this maybe incentivize a player like a Ben Simmons or someone like that to pursue a buyout a little bit more aggressively, knowing that you've got the Clippers, maybe OKC, a few other teams that are below that first tier apron that can go and sign you despite the fact that you're making more than the MLE. So this is a big deal for the Clippers. I know the players involved are not that exciting. This is not that seismic, oh my gosh, Jimmy Butler just got traded or De'Aaron Fox just got traded. But for the market as a whole, this is some activity, and I think we're going to see a lot more activity heading into Thursday's trade deadline. So everybody, let me know your thoughts on the deal in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the trade and what do you think is coming next on the NBA trade market. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.